morning and welcome to another one of Andrew's book reviews. Nice and early here in Victoria, BC, before the sun's even up. And I thought I'd do a review before I start reading my next book. So the review today is on The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. So essentially the premise of this story is that in the small England town of Pegford, a city councillor dies by the name of Barry Fairbrother, leaving a vacancy on the city council. So, of course, the town has to go through an election to see who's going to fill Fairbrother's place on the council. And it cycles around several different families overall, kind of detailing their own experiences during this election cycle and dealing with the death of this city councillor, Barry Fairbrother. When I first looked at the book, picked it up, read a little bit about it, it's like, oh, political drama, this ought to be interesting. I'm into politics myself, I've run for public office myself, so politics is certainly an area of interest for me. So I thought, what the heck, pick this up, read it, check it out. I mean, it's had plenty of praise, a lot of people have said good things about it, and thought this ought to be interesting. And I see how politics plays out in a fictional setting over in England. But I have to say that I was pretty disappointed in the book itself for the expectations that were set for it. I found much of it to be written like town gossip. It kind of almost feels like we were watching or reading the lives of the desperate housewives of Pegford. So a lot of just gossiping between the characters and talking about this and that and their opinions of other characters and what they thought was wrong with them and all this kind of stuff. So really not a lot of actual storytelling, I felt, really kind of let me down there. The whole point of the book was an election cycle to replace the town councillor that died. But once we get to the point in the story where the election actually happens and a new town councillor is elected, it falls flat, really. There's the build-up to it was pretty much non-existent, I felt. And then the actual election itself was anticlimactic in the whole book. There was really not a lot in the way of actual election or political dispute, competition, or anything like that between the characters that were running. Just a lot of talk amongst themselves about the other guys. Not really much in the way of actual political campaigning going on as far as the storytelling goes. So really kind of disappointed in that respect of the book. There were certainly some interesting parts, so it's not to say there wasn't anything good about it at all. But there wasn't a lot good. Like, there are definitely some interesting characters going on in there, and I'll get to those characters in a minute, the parts that I found interesting. But I also found that one aspect of it is messages starting to appear on the message board of the town's website under the name of the Ghost of Barry Fairbrother, which essentially is revealing the secrets of some of the candidates on the website. Now, the disappointment in this is, well, I love the concept. First of all, I think that's a really interesting way to interplay some character or story development and having these people's secrets revealed to the town. I thought that was a really neat way to do it, using the term or the name, the Ghost of Barry Fairbrother. But the problem here was not that aspect of the story or that concept within the story of these mysterious messages, is that there's no mystery to who is doing it. You know right from the start, because the way Rowling writes this is that she writes the story and she tells you the character that's doing this. We see the character or read the character putting the message and posting it themselves within the book. So while the whole town's going, who's doing this, we don't know. It's a mystery to us. It's not a mystery to the reader, which really would have made it so much better if the messages just started randomly appearing and nobody, even the reader, knew what was going on or who was saying what. And that really would have made that aspect of it a lot better, I think. So pretty disappointed in that aspect and that part of the story itself. And there are two characters, as I mentioned, that I think were interesting. There's Sukhvinder and Crystal. Whedon's. So Sukhvinder and Crystal are two teenagers in this book, and hearing their stories and things that they're dealing with is probably, in my opinion, the only good part about the book. So we have Sukhvinder, who is one of those teens that's consistently and persistently bullied at school. So she is severely depressed. She's having some serious psychological, mental issues, to the point of where she's constantly cutting herself, trying to relieve the emotional pain that she's feeling. And then we have Crystal, who is dealing with a mother who's a drug addict. And she literally has to take care of her baby brother constantly because her mother is just constantly all high and hopped up on drugs. And she's trying to get help. She's trying to get her mother to help herself, but isn't having much success in that. And so the challenges that she's dealing with in her home life and her kind of rebellious nature outside of home, I think work well as far as the storyline. It's really unfortunate there wasn't more in the book like that. There wasn't more, what I would say, good storytelling within the book dealing with those types of issues. I think that would have gone a long way to improving the overall book in and of itself. Part of the problem I found was that because there were so many different characters and trying to tell so many different storylines, that it really missed the build up to the end of all these characters' stories, which really causes the book itself to kind of fall flat. I think we could have done a lot more with Crystal and Sukhvinder's storyline very easily. This whole book could have been about those two characters alone, and it would have made for a much better book. You probably still could have done a really compelling and well-written novel in the 600 pages of this book, just focusing on those two characters. But unfortunately, I think Rowling really tried to have too many characters and too many stories going on, and it just didn't work well. Like even the most interesting characters, Crystal and Sukhvinder, they are wonderful stories. Like they're really good storylines for them, but even they ended up falling flat by the end and just not having that effective climax. Their stories ended was a good ending, but the problem was there wasn't enough space in the book to really build up their storyline. And if we had more focus on them and less focus on everything else, I think we could have done a lot better. Or J.K. Rowling could have done a lot better with that. I can tell you that the book does end in her funeral. I won't tell you who in case you decide to read it. And overall, would I recommend it? And honestly, though, not really. It's not the greatest book I found. It kind of boring for a lot of it, to be perfectly honest. And I just found I didn't really enjoy it that much, and that's unfortunate because J.K. Rowling, as we all know, the author of Harry Potter, just did a wonderful job with the Harry Potter series and really kind of fell flat on this. A lot of potential in this book, but just not a lot of execution in that potential. So that's my thoughts on the Casual Vacancy. But I haven't given up on Rowling as far as her fictional non-Harry Potter universe goes. I am going to be reading The Cuckoo's Calling next by Robert Galbraith, who is a alternate name for J.K. Rowling. A pseudonym, pen name for J.K. Rowling. So we'll see how that one goes, see if it's any better. It is kind of a mystery novel, so I'm looking forward to reading that. And hopefully that one pans out much better than The Casual Vacancy. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. And if you have any comments or questions, don't forget to ask them or post them below. And as always, you can check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/AndrewsBookReviews. And of course, andrewsbookreviews.wordpress.com. And if you like what I'm doing and you want to help me spread the word through some marketing and help pay for some of that, that would be greatly appreciated, as I do appreciate everyone who views this. And you can do that at patreon.com/drewsbookreviews. So again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and have yourself a fantastic day.